I've done Thomas, so now it's Percy's turn. What's up guys, Sodor Railway Studios here, and welcome to my next voice ranking video. And this time it's of Percy the Small Engine, one of my favourite Thomas characters of all time. Not much to talk about here, since you should all know the drill by now. But please remember that this list is entirely my opinion, so if you disagree with anything, then that is absolutely fine. So let's get started. Coming in at last place, we have Rob Rackstraw.
Oh, Thomas, I was making a very important food delivery for the animal park, but I stopped quickly at a light and everything spilled out, and now some ants grabbed it. Look, there they go. Oh, I'm not small enough to get under that rock. The food's gone for good.
Now, I can't deny that Rob Rackstraw is an amazing voice actor, but I cannot stand his voice for Percy. I barely go near the YouTube shorts anyway, but this really was a terrible choice. You can really tell that Rob is just running out of voices by listening to his take on Percy, and I'm not a huge fan of his James voice either, to be honest. I literally have nothing more to say on this, but Rob Rackstraw is just by far the worst Percy voice, and no one can convince me otherwise. Next up is Martin Sherman.
I don't have a special. Everybody else does. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I must show Mavis straight away. She will be very proud of me. I know. I'm going to show Mavis my special straight away.
Now, unlike Martin's Thomas voice, which did get slightly better over time, I feel like his Percy voice kind of stayed the same and didn't really improve. Again, I don't think it's terrible, but it just gets rather annoying very quickly. And there's also the fact that most of the US dub voices don't work for me anyway by the mere fact that they have American accents when the show's set in Britain. Overall, Martin Sherman isn't awful as Percy, but he's still not for me. Next up on the list is Keith Wickham.
Oh, now I'm running late. Oh no! Pumpkins on the line! Thank you, Stephen. Thank you so much. I'm sure from now on, I'm going to be super lucky!
I know some people love Keith Wickham's Percy voice, and that's fine, but personally I always found it to be a bit too nasally and high-pitched, if that makes sense. Keith is evidently a very good voice actor, given that he voices over 100 characters in the show, but honestly I don't think he fits with Percy. Though I will admit, he was decent in the Brenner era, but whether that was because of the voice direction or he thought the scripts were better, I'm not entirely sure. But for me, Keith peaked in Tale of the Brave, which just so happened to be one of his last times voicing Percy. If you like Keith Wickham as the voice of Percy, then that's fine, but he's not my cup of tea personally. Next up on the list is Michael Angelus.
I'm sorry I'm late, Thomas, but there was something wrong with the track switches, and I went the long way around. Oh, we must get Lily back to her grandpa now, in case the magic railroad is closed forever. But how can Lily go without gold dust?
In the context of the Magic Railroad work print, then Michael Angelus is just okay. But like with Thomas, I understand why the test audiences thought he sounded too old. Also, I didn't really like his voice for Percy during the Hit era because he sounded too similar to his James voice. Michael Angelus may be my favourite Thomas narrator, but as a voice for Percy, he wasn't great. Next up on the list is Stephen Donald.
Hurry up then, Thomas. Blow your whistle, then pull the troublesome truck up the hill so that Harold can unload the stones. I'm surprised the Fat Controller didn't send a bigger engine than you, Thomas. I really do want to deliver all this coal, Thomas.
Stephen Donald is probably the voice I have the least to say about. I will give him credit for giving Percy a somewhat younger voice, and he has pretty good chemistry with Michael Angelus. But the only problem is he only voiced Percy in the Railway Adventures PC game. Other than that, I barely have anything to say about Stephen Donald. He only had a few lines as Percy, and all the deliveries were decent at best. Now entering the top 3, next up is Christopher Raglin.
And then Sir Topham Hatt asked me to take the mayor there this afternoon. And that's not all. Photographers will be there too, which means I'm going to have my picture in the newspaper.
Christopher Raglin is who I consider a perfect US Percy voice. That might sound quite hypocritical of me, given what I've said about the US voices before, but something just hits different with this one. Christopher bounces off Joseph May really well and sounds very natural in his performances. Also, I like the timid aspect to the voice that he added, which fits spot on with Percy's CGI portrayal, even if it may not fit the classic Percy quite as much. Honestly, I couldn't ask for a better American Percy voice. Just missing out on the top spot, we have Linda Balentine. Or Balentine, I have no idea how to pronounce her surname.
Thomas, I was thinking, how does Mr. Conductor travel here? But if there's a lost engine, maybe there's a lost railway too. Mr. Conductor's railway. Oh, he talked about buffers in his sleep. Buffers are at the end of a railway. I think that's how he travels here, on a secret railway.
I understand if some people may not like Linda's Percy voice, but I personally really like it. I've always been an advocate for casting women to play young male characters, since that happens a lot in voiceover. Take a look at Tails from Sonic, for example. He used to be voiced by younger kids back in the day, but then they decided to let him be voiced by women, until they finally settled with Colleen O'Shaughnessy, who's the best Tails voice, by the way. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if she was the voice for Percy in the US dub.
All qualified candidates welcome. Best candidate gets the job. I'm a lock! Unless there's something you're not telling me.
Linda's Percy voice is kind of like that. She bounces off Eddie Glenn in a way that's not very easy to replicate in my opinion. Honestly, if not for my number one pick, then Linda could have easily been my favourite Percy voice. Finally, coming in at number 1 is Nigel Pilkington.
And then the Fat Controller asked me to take the mayor there this afternoon. And that's not all. Photographers will be there too, which means I'm going to have my picture in the newspaper.
Nigel Pilkington just is Percy the Small Engine, at least in my opinion. Like John Hasler as Thomas, he is everything I could ask for. He knows when to be cheeky, happy, timid, nervous, and easily frustrated. All of Percy's greatest personality traits. It honestly staggers me how much Nigel nails Percy. And as a side note, I also really like his voice for Trevor the Traction Engine, even though that's not technically relevant. He will forever remain my favourite Percy voice of all time, and I can't see that changing anytime soon. And that's about it for this video. As usual, I very much hope you enjoyed, and feel free to let me know in the comments which voice for Percy is your favourite. Do you agree with my ranking, or do you have your own personal preference? The next episode of the series will likely focus on James, so stay tuned for that when it comes out. Until then, I've been Sodor Railway Studios, you've been simply the best, and have a great day. Bye!
'Cause every night I will save your life.